Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tricked Before. This time, Voyager again. The episode, Meld. Hey, meld with us. You know, we can do it. Facebook, we're out there. It's all been tricked before. We're out there. We're memeing. We're doing all that stuff. Get in there. Tell us how we're doing. Hopefully it's all positive. But you know what? We'll take the negative. Or you know what? Let's call it constructive. I'm being constructive with the constructive. Follow us at Facebook. It's all been tricked before, just like you see it everywhere else on the internet. It's all been tricked before. And this is It's All Been Tricked Before. Meld, Voyager. I'll say it one more time. It's all been tricked before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tricked Before. Your regular hosts are here.
This is Stephen.
This is Olivia James, and we're here to talk about the Star Trek Voyager episode, Meld. Give me your first impressions.
You know, I'll do a little behind the curtain stuff and as well here, but you know, I watched it and I didn't love it. And then, you know, I read, you know, I went to as I often do, I looked and see what everyone else thought. And I was like, people really love this, or it's a very important episode. And I get that part of it. So I rarely do this. I watched it again. And I did pick up a few more things that I liked. I still didn't love it. And we'll get into that. I wouldn't say I disliked it or hated it, but it definitely, I wish Keith was here for this too. It definitely did not hang the moon for me, but I see why it's an important episode for Tuvok and for people who love Tuvok, who actually, I do love Tuvok. And I like Tim Russ in this episode. I like Brad Dourif in this episode. I just don't necessarily like that whole story. And I have issues with it, but I didn't find it super engaging for me. And maybe that's just because I got very like, this is that, and this is that, and this is that, and this is, why are they even doing this? But that's my first impression.
I think I liked it better when I first saw it, like back in the 90s or early odds. Probably 90s.
Yeah.
90s. I agree with you. As we were going into it, I was thinking, this is a pretty good one. We should enjoy this. And then as I watched it, I also did not find it very engaging. I got bored. I do think it was a good showcase for Tim Russ's acting abilities.
Yes,
but in terms of the story, it could have been a lot better. There were a lot of things where the logic of the story just kind of failed me. And when you're doing a Vulcan story, the logic really should be front and center, right?
Well, and that's something else I rarely do is go out and, I go out and see what other people think, but I was still like, am I the only one out here? And I went to YouTube and I didn't necessarily search for like illogical, but what came up was a YouTube guy, and I should give him credit. I think if you search JDA Star Trek on YouTube, you can find him, but he does short ones, did a little short 9-minute thing on it. But his headline was, you know, that he thought it was illogical what happens here. And I think there's a little bit of, well, we're going to force you into this thing that doesn't make sense so we can do all this other stuff, which I think some of that stuff is interesting, but doesn't win the day for me. And I think there's references to good and bad Star Trek in here that adds up to not great Star Trek. So,
Yeah,
that's where I landed as well.
So we start out, we're back in Sandrine's. No sign of Sandrine or Gaunt Gary. But we did meet a new character here, Ricky, played by Angela Dorman, who's an actress best known for Nash Bridges, Seinfeld, and Star Trek Voyager. Her Voyager total is a grand 2 episodes. This was the second. She was in the cloud in season 1.
Okay.
So she's not new. I thought she was. But yeah, just 1 episode, Seinfeld, 5 Drew Carey, 11 Nash Bridges. She played Stacy Bridges on Nash Bridges.
Oh, you know what? I remember from Drew Carey now, and I remembered her I didn't remember from watching the episode from Seinfeld. When I looked it up, I'm like, I knew it was somebody I knew, but I was like, how do I know her? She was Donna Chang on Seinfeld. I didn't even grab the episode.
It might even be season 6, episode 4, The Chinese Woman.
It is. I was going to say the Chinese girl. I was right.
Woman.
But she's one of my Donna Chang, formerly Donna Chang scene. George's mom thinks she's a Chinese woman because she's Donna Chang, and Jerry, I think Jerry doesn't know she's Chinese, and then she starts. There's other stuff she does. Go check it out. It's a very funny episode, and I enjoyed her. And she might be in my top 15 Jerry girlfriends, which again is not all of it's based on looks, but in this case it is. I find her very alluring, and she was good in the episode. She was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but would it surprise you to know that she only has 19 acting credits? They stop in 1994 until she has 2 credits in 2021, but nothing since.
Yeah. And I didn't dig much deeper into what she's been up to I'm sure she's been doing something in the acting world, but she. Oh yeah. So just to get back to the episode, yeah, because I wrote right away. I love gambling and girls, and that's before I even realized it was my girl Donna Chang. And yeah, to refer again to the JDA review, he thought it was like and it was a paper thin B story, and really, and maybe in a good way, incongruous completely with the other storyline. Is like, oh, we're having fun. Oh, this is really serious. I enjoyed it because I like Paris. I like gambling, and we can. And I didn't like. I didn't really like. I feel like. And I'm sure we never go back to it, but I would love it if Paris was running it a little smarter, like kind of like Klinger or even Hawkeye on MASH, because I feel like we're in a MASH situation here. We're 70 million, whatever, 70 light years or whatever, however many light years away from getting home. It's like
70,000.
Yeah, we gotta break some of the rules here. I know we gotta have order, but also, hey, but. And I don't know if this is a 90s mentality about gambling, and I know gambling can be addictive and all that, but if it helps, and I want to know where Neelix comes in on this because he's in charge of ship morale. So anyway.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, so I would say that the holodeck plot, the Paris plot, is exactly like the Meld plot because it starts out with the character having fun, Paris cheating people, Tuvok digging into a serial killer's head. Both fun things. And then they get serious when Tuvok loses his logic or when Paris gets caught by Chakotay. Pretty equivalent stakes, I think. In all seriousness, though. Yeah, that subplot, it had fun moments, and honestly, that was the most fun part of this episode.
Yeah.
Him being hustled at the beginning. And I did appreciate that Paris didn't actually cheat Kim out of his money, because I felt like that would have been incongruous with our introduction to Paris and Kim in the pilot, where Paris saves him from being cheated by Quark. And yet, Paris is cheating others without any concern at all as they become bookies. And Kim knows he's going down the wrong path, but his glee of doing it is fun. And also, I just wrote about the girl, Ricky, like this girl. I love the tude she was giving. I wish she was going to be a reoccurring presence.
Right? She's fun, and but she's a holo girl. She's not a crew person.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So, which is nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I just think that would be a lot of fun and to keep it going. And actually, the JDA guy said, this seems more like a Quark thing, but I feel like it's right up Paris's alley. And I feel like
I love your MASH comparison. MASH was the perfect place to go with that.
Yeah, and I feel like that would be fun, and I feel like it's a fun place. So, I know they're trying to set up, and actually, he made a good point too, which is this seems like Paris from earlier, but I think gambling's a fun thing. He's not actually. Maybe he is cheating people out of money because he might be moving the roulette wheel or whatever, with the numbers or whatever. But if in a younger day, if I had more money, I would have been a bookie. But I prefer to gamble. But I would. Well, actually, I have played the bookie here and there in my life. I've been the house, but. So anyway, I enjoyed that, but yeah, and I don't know if you can do more with it than what happened, other than not shut it down and let Paris be the guy that everyone's like, we love this guy. He's a lot of fun, and guess what? He's still our best pilot.
I don't think he was exactly cheating people out of their money. I just think he was playing a game that was rigged to favor the house, and those standard rules, he didn't go out of his way to make new rigging rules. He was just taking the place of the house. And it felt very much like the lottery when they're like, oh, no winners again. It's just going to keep going up. And I'm like, God damn it, make it easier to... you just make it easier for somebody to win so more people win more often. That's my problem with the lottery, is instead of making people wait months for one person to win $1 billion, give out $1 million every week. Put the odds in such a way that somebody's always winning $1 million, because that would make a lot of us happy. And I do think overall that would get more people to play, honestly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, the pot just kept growing. I was like, yep, I see what's going on here. It's the poor person's tax or the dumb person's tax or whatever.
I feel like
starve if they run out of replicator rations. They just have to eat Neelix's food. So, right? If you're willing to risk eating Neelix's food, that's,
I feel like Paris was even doing it just for the fun of it, even though I think like a true gambler, he's like, well, we got to have stakes, even if I think at some point he's not going to let anybody starve or anything. He's not going to do that.
No, nobody's going to starve. I do think if somebody eventually won that pot, they should be replicating the entire holodeck crew like a pizza party or something, Like that's something to spread the wealth. And I could see that like on a different thing, that being like a thing the captain allowed. And if it was just a tradition that whoever won, like what you won was you got to treat your friends to pizza. That's like, that would be pretty cool, I think. Anyway, so back to the beginning, there's an EPS issue in engineering. And they set it up like it's going to be this whole big like engineering mystery, but you solve it like almost immediately. Suter was monitoring, and yep, there's a dead body. He murdered someone. And even like they start questioning him. He's like, nope, didn't do it. And they're like, we looked into it further. We have evidence. He's like, okay, you caught me. Like it's so. There's no tension to the mystery plot. They do work it so quick.
They're like, we got to get to this other thing we want to examine, which I appreciate. And I'm the one who's always like, don't give me 40 minutes of the mystery. And it's like, hey, guess we figured out. I don't mind them giving it up if they get into interesting stuff, and they did. Even though I didn't necessarily love all of it, but yeah, I thought that was. I wrote murder. It's weird when they asked Chakotay about it. He's like, oh yeah, he was quiet, kept to himself, which is what they say about all killers, like our guy, who he seems like he'd be a serial killer on Earth or wherever. He probably is a serial killer if he's on a bigger population. The way he talked, especially, I mean, I want a Star Trek Mindhunter like this about him, which is what this could have been if it was better.
So yeah, I always remembered him as a serial killer. I think I was thinking of all the Cardassians he gleefully murdered, although they all.
Oh right, yeah.
And to an extent, like they said, like we didn't single them out because all the other Maquis mental profiles were basically the same. And I was like, oh, so you're with a bunch. They're like, well, yeah, a certain type of person's going to join the Maquis, which I think they were going way too easy on him. I think that their mental profile should have come up with something else. But I wanted to say about like what we talked about, the getting to the story really, really quick. It just feels like the more modern version of the story is not to even worry about putting in that 5-minute plot where they find the dead body and are investigating, because that's you could do the finding the dead body as the cold open, but I think then you come right back after the theme song with Tuvok already interrogating the guy they've already arrested. I don't think we needed the scene or two where you question and deny him. You could skip that because that's not the story.
Yeah,
it felt like it was a misdirect story where they were setting up a different story and then changed it. And I don't know if that was something with the writing. It was a story by Michael Sussman, who was a story editor on Voyager and ended up being a producer on Enterprise after this. He's best known as a producer on Perception, what's his name? Eric McCormick show, show, Star Trek Enterprise, and a fan series called Star Trek United. He has 7 producer credits, starting with Star Trek Enterprise, worked on 12 Monkeys as well, and Legend of the Seeker. In terms of writing, he's got like 9 writing credits, but a lot of those are story editor. So he's got, they aren't just all episodes he wrote. This is his first Star Trek credit, this episode. I won't see him again until next season's The Swarm. But yeah, it'll be interesting. This was only his second writing credit ever. He only had 1 writing credit before this. So I don't know how he got in, but they clearly liked him and wanted to keep him. It looks like he was the executive story editor for the first season of Enterprise and then wrote like 5 episodes a season after that for Enterprise. So we'll see more of him.
Yeah, my next note was DNA doesn't know how to lie, which is a great line. And also, like we said, there's only so many people on Voyager it could be. It's not like, who could have done this? It couldn't be anybody. No, it couldn't.
It was Seska before she left. The body just hadn't been discovered yet. No, so don't skip over the part that the DNA was found because the doctor invented some special nanites to do the thing for him. Like genius doctor thing. It's not just some random DNA test. Before that, I've got several notes before that. Neelix researches Vulcan but doesn't understand that he can't get Tuvok to smile because his research seems to have been ancient history, pagan rituals with naked people wrestling in Greece. And I love where he's like, we need to bring it back. It was just such a humorous scene where he both understood and didn't understand at all what he was talking about.
And I enjoyed Neelix here, and I wrote, this is a feature I usually run, but Neelix is in charge of Perv Corner this week on the show. where he's talking about, I'm trying to, what's the grease he calls it? Rillian grease is the way that Chakotay.net transcribes it. But I think you pronounced it Rillian grease. But either way, I found it humorous. I mean, I feel like he's kind of badgering Tuvok, and it sets up the scene later, which was kind of funny to me. He also mentions Cal Rec, the Day of Atonement, and then Solitude and Silence as well. But that also made me think of, and God, I'm failing on I think it's Yom Kippur, I think it's the Day of Atonement. My Jewish friends, if I've got this backwards, I apologize. I shouldn't be doing this. One of the high holidays, I think it's Yom Kippur, which again goes back to Leonard Nimoy and how much he imbued the character with
Jewish.
a lot of Jewish things, including the Vulcan salute and everything. So I like that aspect of it. And I like to think that's part of what drove that.
Absolutely. And I did think it was a little over the top that we had to be informed and reminded on multiple occasions that the victim had a family. He had 3 sisters that were surely mourning him. And I think that was just to make it hit home more, but I don't necessarily think we needed that. We could just say, hey, we all cared about this guy. He was part of the crew. We all,
Well, and that's the thing. I think they mentioned that, but it's like, aren't a lot of the people on the ship part of his quote unquote family? I mean, somebody should be really upset. Somebody else should be like, I'm going to kill this guy myself or whatever. So yeah, I was right. It is Yom Kippur. So I will take credit. I got that. I got one right. But yeah, that's something that just struck me now. I don't know why it didn't strike me while I'm watching it. Like, and whether even if the victim kept to himself, and that's another serial killer trope or whatever, or not even a trope, it's just a thing that happens in real life, is like no one's going to miss them. Jack the Ripper killed prostitutes because they did bad things, and no one's going to miss them. But I feel like this is just a guy doing his job on a ship trying to get home, and then we bring up the family. But I feel like someone like Torres, I feel like would be like, what are we doing with this guy? We're keeping him around. And I get those arguments, and that's a different conversation we're going to get into. But I think that argument's better than Tuvok's, like, oh, I'm discovering my Vulcan violent, primitive side. It would have been even more interesting if we're going to have the capital punishment argument, if somebody else like Torres or whoever, who's a half Klingon, is like, no, this guy's got to die. It's dishonorable to keep him around.
Yeah.
I shouldn't talk honor too much. I'm getting ahead of next week. But anyway, so that, just that thought.
So when Suter asks Tuvok if he's a suspect, he sure acts like he has a chip on his shoulder about, you suspect me just because I'm Maquis, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I felt a little flashback in not a good way to earlier episodes.
Well, and I can't remember if we got into this, but they scanned his brain, and they're like, well, does he have any, his mental health tendencies? And they're like, well, he's got some violent tendencies, but all the Maquis do. All their brains tend that way. I'm like, what?
Yeah. When Suter did confess, though, it was a pretty chilling confession. Like, when he was just like, yep, totally did it. And then the whole, Tuvok's like, why? And he's like, no reason. Just didn't like the way he looked at me. That was just, woof. Tuvok then asked the doctor if Suter's psychotic, and I felt this was a bit out of touch and dated and not in a good way, when the doctor said, well, there's no evidence of bipolarism, so no. And
right. Right.
First of all, just because you're bipolar doesn't mean you're psychotic. And second of all, there are other mental conditions besides bipolarism. Isn't being psychotic a different condition altogether than bipolar? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did like the doctor. The doctor saying, hey, there may just be no motive. It may just be impulse control. Deal with it. Voice of wisdom there. Yeah.
Sometimes people are just as they appear to be, with no redemption at all. It is very illogical for the links that, and I think the doctor even says, he's like, you got it all here. What are we doing? I can't remember. Maybe it's not the doctor. I think it's the doctor. He's like, you got motive. You don't have motive, but you got everything else. What are we doing?
Yeah. What does it matter if you don't know why you did it? It's not
right.
That's not important. So
that's not necessarily part of Law and Order. That's part of, if you got everything else, you don't need motive.
Right.
Unless you're, I mean, you're on a starship. You're not worried about the difference between murder and manslaughter. And then, he's already given you a confession.
Yeah,
On top of that.
absolutely. I did a joke. I did like the scene where Tuvok and Suda are like face to face, like confronting, and Suda was like, "I thought about killing you," and Tuvok's like, "Well, with me, you have motive to kill me," and it's just like,
Yeah.
"Oh wow, that's heavy, but also true," and it's. But there aren't very many detectives that would say it so dispassionately as Tuvok does. Like, yeah, I can understand why you want to kill me. I just don't understand why you want to kill that guy.
That was a good scene.
Suter is a betazoid, like Troy, but like not half betazoid, full betazoid. But apparently he doesn't sense emotions or thoughts or feel anything at all. So I guess that's a big check for the psycho category because he's a betazoid, but without not even Deanna's powers, let alone the full blown powers.
Well, and they said that like most betazoids, he keeps to himself. But does that make sense?
Most betazoids, when they're not around their own people, I think, keep to themselves.
Okay.
Because the emotions can be overwhelming and people don't understand. And other non-betazoids don't have the ability to block their emotions.
That's a good point, yeah.
So Suter agrees to mind meld like almost too easily. And the whole reason we're doing this, very dangerous, very like, we've been told mind melds are not something to be done casually. And we're doing this just because Tuvok's upset he doesn't have the motive. I don't feel like that's a good enough excuse. And I don't think Janeway would have okayed it.
Nope. And
later in the episode, she's like, I did okay it, but it's like, no.
And then at the very end, she's like, you don't do this without asking me. And it made me wonder, I don't remember Spock doing it without checking in with Kirk. Or I feel like Kirk was always there when he's like, hey, I'm going to do this. Except the motion picture when he melded with Voyager. Oh, you know what? Even then, I think he's telling them, hey, I'm going to do this. And he's contacting the ship. I can't say that definitively. I feel like that is true, but I did not go and verify all that. But I think that's true.
Yeah. So Janeway says we're going to put Suter in his quarters with maximum security because it looks like they only have one cell in the brig, so you can't just leave.
Yeah.
They're a science vessel, so it makes sense they have a brig with one cell. I know Next Gen had like several, and Deep Space Nine has a bunch because it's a station, but one cell makes sense. I mean, Tuvok pushes back that just confined to quarters is almost like a reward, not a punishment, because he doesn't have to work and he has his comforts. But I did appreciate like the other argument of, yeah, it may feel like that at first, but when you're locked in there for 70 years, it's not going to feel like that anymore. And I think that is a valid argument. I mean, what's the other choice? I mean, there's the argument you could kill him, but it's just against their morality. I do think if this was probably similar to an episode of Battlestar Galactica where they did execute him. Because it's like, if we don't have facilities, if we don't have... I don't know if that exactly happened in Battlestar, but I feel like I could see the tonally different way to tell the story in the style of Battlestar, where it's like, we don't have the facilities to hold him. We don't have a choice. Or maybe Walking Dead might be a better thing, where you had the story with the little girl who was a psycho that killed her sister. And they're like, well, we have no way to like contain her or take care of her. So our only choice is we have to murder her. And so they execute the kid because the kid's a psycho and they can't sleep in the same house without worrying she might slit their throats in the sleep.
Well, am I making this up? Did they say they were going to have him keep working or they were just going to have him in the brig?
No, he would just be confined to his quarters. He wouldn't be able to leave his quarters. He couldn't go to the holodeck, couldn't go to the mess hall. Like you're sent to your room permanently. And have security around it at all times.
And I know they get deeper in, and we may get deeper into the capital punishment thing, but I guess we're there now. When I always tell people, like, capital punishment, there's the deterrence part. There's also a retribution part, which is like, hey, you did this, you deserve this punishment. And I used to be someone who was like, yeah, let's do that. But the only way I can even be okay with that. And I understand people are like, we could never do that. And I understand people are like, I don't necessarily understand people who are like, let's kill everybody. Doesn't matter if they're innocent or not. If you could tell me that we were doing it, even trying to do it the right way, then I'd be on board. But clearly in this country and probably no other, I don't think there's any country in the world that's still doing the death penalty that's doing it right. So they're doing it correctly, or however you want to say. Those right and correctly don't sound right, but that we're actually killing the people that need deterrence, or they were just so terrible that the we need retribution. But unfortunately, that's not what happens. And as any study or any documentary you watch on it, or anything you look into, that is not in this country anyway. That is not what happens. So, but in 1995, I think it was a little different. I think now, I think most of us, I think it's like, and I don't have numbers right in front of me, but I'm thinking it's like 60-40, and that was like 10 years ago. I think it's even different now. They are opposed to it for any number of reasons, whether it's we should never kill anybody, or until you get this system right. And I would say going into law school, I might have been more inclined to let's do it. And I don't mean haphazardly, just like some people deserve it, the retribution part. And this is my legal corner, and I will stop after this. But I think that's I think it is an interesting conversation. One of the many conversations in there. And I think that's the part when Janeway's like, I don't believe in doing it. It's like, okay, I know you don't, but I know she's got to make the call, but I just think I feel like that's a community thing and not I get to make this call thing. But I don't know, maybe I'm not right.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he's not going anywhere. It's an ongoing conversation, right? So
right.
If everyone decides, they don't have to kill him right now.
Right. Oh, we've talked a lot about Suter, but we haven't talked about the actor that played him, Brad Dourif. Suter himself is going to be in 3 episodes of Voyager. He'll be back later this season, and he'll be back again next season. Well, it's a 2-parter. The season finale of this season, the season premiere of the next. We're going to get him. So it's just a 2-parter, and then we're done with him. But won't tell you what ends up if we just don't see him again, or if something happens. We'll get to that. Yeah. But yeah, it was very much a small part that could have been more, I think. But anyway, Brad Dourif has about 1 million IMDb credits, give or take. Actually acting 176. It feels like more. Best known for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which we famously watched last year during our break. Playing Wormtongue in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Being the voice of Chucky in the original Child's Play in 1988. Playing Peter in the original Dune from 1984. Most recently, he was in an episode of The Pit and did 24 episodes of the TV show Chucky, which makes sense. But so many credits. Deadwood, the movie, is one of his other more recent credits. A lot of Chucky stuff.
And they often have him playing a weirdo, for lack of a better term. But I will say the one part of the episode that I thought worked, or I enjoyed, was that once they do the mind meld and it's kind of an enemy within and all that kind of stuff, that the way he becomes kind of more controlled and even more modulated, I thought was interesting, because I felt like he was like, oh, I like having this Vulcan part of me now. And he changed what he was doing a little bit. But even before that, he didn't seem like, oh, I'm a crazy person. He was just like, nope, this is what I did, which, we know plenty of, I think that's in Silence of the Lambs. They mentioned that his blood pressure and his heart rate didn't go up while he was killing these people and stuff. So I feel like that's the way our guy here was.
Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was his first official credit.
So wow.
It was totally unknown before he did that movie. Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah.
It is. So then we get the scene where Tuvok's talking to Neelix, and Neelix touches his face and forces him to smile, and then Tuvok promptly strangles him to death. When did you figure out it was a holodeck? Because I really didn't. I thought, like, oh crap, Tuvok's going to realize he accidentally made him unconscious, and he's going to quickly take him to the sickbay.
That's what I thought. I thought he was going to sickbay, wanted to beam over. I wrote initially, Tuvok is all of us, while he was strangling him. And I thought, what good programming by the holodeck. That's one time the holodeck was like accurate. It's like, how do we get under his skin with the worst possible Neelix we can? And yeah, Neelix was annoying.
An alternate, not this isn't my alternate episode, but alternate scene is as soon as Tuvok strangles Neelix to death, you pan back, and on the other side of the mess hall is Sandrines, and Paris and Kim are just looking at him going, what the?
I like that.
This is why you made us share the holodeck?
My own episode is similar to what I just mentioned, but if Suter becomes just like a top citizen, like, and super logical to the point. It's like, oh, I realized what I did was wrong. Oh, and let me fix this and this and this, and actually becomes a better person. And which I guess
Psychopaths can't do that. Don't you know that from Dexter?
well, there you go.
We spent 8 seasons thinking he's growing and changing as a person, and then nope, he's still a psycho.
Forget it.
Yep. Chakotay confiscates Paris's pot. And decides he's going to put Paris on report. Wonder if that'll have consequences. But it didn't feel like a satisfying ending to that story.
No, I mean, and I thought, and again, this is, maybe I was just naive this whole episode. I thought Chakotay was be like, hey, you can do this, but be cool about it. He's a Maquis. Come on.
Chakotay is like the religious convert who has gone to Starfleet, so you're new to the religion, so you double down on the rules and traditions.
Yeah. Which I think that's where Paris's line at the end, like, oh, now there's a tough job filling out reports. Somebody's got to do it. So it's just a dig, like, oh, you essentially, he's like, oh, you've changed, but guess what? You're still not in charge of this ship. So deal with that, buddy, while I have fun down here with Ricky and everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned that the story was by Michael Sussman, but the teleplay was actually by Michael Piller, top guy, and directed by Cliff Bull, one of our regulars. So Suter asks for another mind meld from Tuvok and taunts him, essentially. And Tuvok has to lock himself out, remove his own security clearance, and relieve himself of duty. The Vulcans just don't know how to ask for help, do they? They just internalize everything.
Yeah.
Didn't feel quite fair. So when Janeway does come to check on him, we see that famous Vulcan restraint once it gets out is a mess because he's trashed his whole quarters, certainly not following the advice of take care of yourself, and just warns Janeway away, dripping with sweat. It did feel like Spock and Ponfar or something, right? Like it was intense.
Yeah.
They basically said Tuvok's emotional suppressants were completely removed. And he was really mean to Janeway, which I thought was uncalled for, no matter what he's going through. They're like really good friends.
Yeah. I mean, all of that just conjured up for me, TOS stuff with Spock, which makes sense. We got 2 Vulcans and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't initially love it. I did write down Red Kryptonite because I think it does lead to that conversation at the end where he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I said this to you. I would never do that, and I respect you. And it reminds me, that's what it reminds me of, speaking of Amok Time, is when Spock throws the pomic soup against the wall and is yelling at Chapel and all that stuff. So it's very much like that.
That was his ex-girlfriend, and so that makes it extra bad.
Yeah, it makes it even worse. And I think it is interesting that, I've talked about this before. It's like, all we talk about is like, people want Vulcans to show their emotions. And then when they do, like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, you asked for this. Kind of. But I did write down at one point Meld protocols, which I guess is what we established at the end. But I feel like it's similar to the holodeck. I feel like it's not as, it might be about the same percentage of times where a mind meld goes wrong. Where, I don't know how you do those protocols, but I feel like I feel like Spock's were usually like when he melded with Voyager or something like that. Now when he just melded with just a psycho, but maybe that would have happened. I don't know.
I mean, he did meld with Picard, so we know he melded with at least one psycho.
This is
So the Doc's unsure if Tuvok will ever recover. Speaking of original series references, when Spock has the red glasses, and we're not sure if he'll ever recover until next week. Right. Completely fine. And I'm pretty sure Tuvok's fine after this. Yeah, I don't think this is an ongoing concern. I could be wrong, but I don't think it is. Like, I do think it may be mentioned again at some point, but I don't think it's like every time you see Tuvok, you're like, oh, must be unstable.
I like the EMH's comment. Vulcan mind melds, utter foolishness. I generally wouldn't say that, but in this instance, I do. This is utter foolishness.
That is, right? And we get back to the Vulcan Doctor conflict, which is always fun, too.
Yes.
The emotional Tuvok breaks out of his quarters and goes to get Suter, who's meditating. It's like they've switched personalities. If I didn't know any better, I'd think they actually, their brains just switched.
Right. I wrote at this point. It's kind of it's a couple different old TOS episodes. There's the enemy within, because it feels like Tuvok is like, I don't know if I want the logical part of me back, and then Suter's the same way. He's like, I think I like the way I am right now. I think I'm cool this way. Let's keep this the way it is. Or actually, Suter, I think, is like, yeah, we can mind meld again. I'll get even more elevated and not
Right.
and still be a psycho. It also reminded me of Wolf in the Fold. Not exactly the same, because obviously in that one it's like a spirit that's moving around. It's a Halloween type episode, but in the sense that it's Jack the Ripper. It's this evil serial killer that's able to move around just by being in the mind and everything, and whose mind is it going to be in next. So, and I don't reference. I do think Enemy Within, and we like that. Wolf in the Fold, didn't like it as much as when I was a kid. I don't think either of those are reflected kindly here. I don't think either of those is a good thing about this episode.
No, it's not.
Generally speaking.
Suter says if you can't control the violence controls you. Is that some type? I guess he is very balanced at that point.
Yeah.
He's the Swami. So they force the meld, Tuvok collapses, and Suter calls for help to the bridge, proving he's not a total psycho, right? At least not under the Vulcan control. So now the argument I would say is, should Tuvok sacrifice his own life by becoming psycho himself in order to balance and stabilize Suter? What's the value there? Does one life have more value than the other?
Yeah, that's a valid conversation. And I thought there's also the idea that whatever state Suter's in, he's like, kind of what you just said. He's like, this guy, I don't mind him the way he looks at me. He's smart. He's worth saving. He's good for society. That other Jack that I killed, the other people I killed, the Cardassians for sure, useless. Mm-hmm. They deserve to be gone. They were bad people. Again, we're kind of back to the Jack the Ripper kind of thing. Although Jack the Ripper, that's unfair to sex workers. We're much more enlightened now. 200 years later. Yeah. So then they essentially kind of reprogram Tuvok.
Well, that's what the doctor says. Like, he's healing, but like they're signs that he's healing, but he's still got a long way.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah, and I kind of like that line where he's like, "Well, it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be never." Which I know, and the brain is a tricky thing, and especially when you're trying to reprogram it. But I was like, for lack of a better term, it felt like they were playing God. I mean, I guess all doctors are to an extent, if you're saving lives and messing with brains. And I think it was the right thing to do. But yeah, that was I was, oof.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting. Well, that's our only choice. We got to reprogram them. And I mean, does Tuvok get to have any kind of consent there?
Nope. Not at all.
Because they don't ask him, right?
No.
They just do it.
But at that point, he's not in his right mind, right?
So, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I don't think you could really ask him. So, we end with that Tuvok Janeway moment, which I thought was actually a really nice moment. I'm glad we had that.
Yes. Yeah.
I actually wished we'd had more Tuvok and Janeway stuff in this episode. I felt like it would have been a really good way to handle their friendship and when they're at odds, when they're in agreement. And that is my alternate episode, was instead of spending the episode like seeing the effects of what Tuvok's meld to Suter is, it would be kind of cool if the episode was just Janeway and Tuvok debating whether he should meld and the risks and dangers, risks and benefits and weighing them, and just the two of them locked in a room. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, that makes more sense, doesn't it? I mean, maybe from a viewing perspective, it's not as dark or whatever, but from what these two would do, that's exactly what they would do. They would be like, let's not get crazy here. Let's have a conversation about it. All right, here's how we're going to proceed. And which I think makes sense. Even if I would still like a Torres or somebody to be like, for the other side. And again, this might be a right-wing view. This might be something I should say on my right-wing podcast, Trek's Always Right, where we get back to when Trek wasn't so woke. But yeah, if somebody else is like, nah, I mean, I feel like a Klingon would be like, let's kill this guy. I know she's half Klingon, right?
Yes.
Torres.
But half Klingon, half human.
half of her, I think, would be like, let's kill this guy now. It's the honorable thing to do because he dishonored our ship. But I'm glad we didn't get into honor or dishonor. Much as I didn't necessarily love the episode, I think that's dangerous. But I would have liked her or just anybody, somebody to be like, this is crazy. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't broadcast it to the ship. Maybe only a few people knew. So maybe it's just Cass and the Doctor and Janeway and, well, no,
Probably
Torres has to know.
Probably the whole senior staff.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had a staff briefing about it. But yeah. Ready to get to the rankings?
Yeah.
Okay. Who was your annoyance this week?
I'm going to say mind melds in general. That's where I'm going to land.
I put Tuvok. Like, I don't think he should have ever attempted the meld, and then he didn't handle it well.
Fair.
And it was it just didn't make sense. I mean, I get his obsession with finding motive, but I think he went to extreme lengths a little too easily just to set the story.
Yep.
Who are you having a drink with?
This will be no surprise. You might already have it in there. Ricky. I mean, not only she was already going to be my choice, and then when I realized it was Donna Chang, Donna Chang Steen.
Yeah.
That's happening. Yeah.
So for the second week in a row, I'm going to go with the Doctor because he was the one who kept his head and made sense in this episode and had the wisdom. And then who was your? I'm sorry, that's not who I had a drink with. I'm sorry, the Doctor was my inspiring because he had. Sorry, skip to inspiring. He was my inspiring because he had that stuff. My drink is going to be holodeck Neelix because you could kill him with no consequences. So he was trying real hard. I think he was doing good.
I might do that like every day for a week, depending on how my week was going. Yeah, that I would love it if like half the crew had a program where they just kill Neelix.
Well, I'd also want to like wait till he wakes up, his program wakes back up, and then just have a drink and talk about. Do you think you did something wrong in your approach to Tuvok? Have you learned any lessons? Do you want to vary your approach next time? My guess is he learned nothing.
And then it turns out, oddly enough, Neelix has a program where he kills Neelix.
He's got very.
And Cass, of course, definitely does. She definitely has one at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Cass also very good at helping out the Doctor. So
yeah,
sisterhood.
Absolutely.
But even when, and I'll say this, I love her, but even when she's like giving like the bad news about how his brain's doing and this and that, she's still like in that breathy kind of da-da-da. And I'm like, I really like the way you're saying this, but I also do not like the way you're saying this. I mean, I shouldn't say I do not, but it seems like that might be the one time, and maybe that's just me. Actually, that's unfair to Cass and to Jennifer Lean. That might just be the way they talk, and I shouldn't be shaming them for that. So
you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Who was your inspiring? Because I obviously chose the Doctor.
You know, I think that's a great choice. I end up here a lot. I think we do. Janeway, I just thought she's still, even if I might not agree with her decision. I do agree with her decision. Like, we're just not going to kill people. Mm-hmm. I would have liked if she opened it up to everyone, but even in the face of Tuvok being real brutal to her and everything, she hung in there. Also understanding, like, this isn't my guy. He's not his normal state of mind and everything. So, Janeway.
Okay. Wonderful. Let's see. Ranking the episode.
Yeah.
Let's put it up against Maneuvers. Because that's when Seska was pulling all her shenanigans.
Oh, was that the...
Investigate? That's where she actually kidnapped Chakotay.
Oh, Seska and all that. Yeah.
Not the one where she turns tail. The one where she kidnaps Chakotay and then in the end she impregnates herself.
Yeah.
I think I want to go above it.
I felt inclined to... I think there's definitely negative recency bias that I would go above with Maneuvers. But I'll go with you. Let's go. Let's take it above and see what's next.
Okay. Above that is the 37s. We liked aspects of that, but we had a big problem with the resolution, and Amelia Earhart refused to stay.
Yeah.
And I think I have a similar issues with this, where I like aspects of the story, but I have a problem with the logic and characters not acting in character.
I could probably go either way.
I'm kind of with you there.
Yeah. What's
above
above
that's
that? Was that?
above that's Elogium, which I don't know. Anti-recency bias, like it's fourth for the season right now, and I don't
Yeah,
remember liking it. But I think when we watched it, there was a lot to like about it. I just don't remember what those
yeah.
things were right now.
It's another one where a character acts crazy, for lack of a better term, or she's. I'm not judging Kess. I would. You guys know I would never do that, but I, I think I would go below that, and I know that's
Yeah, I
heresy to a
agree.
lot of Star Trek fans out there, but or
No, I think
Voyager
so
fans. I
too.
think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think that's a good.
So we're at the 37s, above or below.
I. mm,
I'm with you. I could kind of go either way.
Yeah, 37 seems more fun, but this one seems more important, I guess.
Yes, I mean 37s is pretty well remembered too, but this is
Yeah,
definitely regarded as better than 37s by most people.
yeah.
It
You
is
know
more
what?
fun.
I'll throw this out to the people that are gonna come to kill me like they want to. They should have come out to kill Suter. I'll give this to them. We'll go above 37.
We'll go above 37s. Okay. Yeah, we still have a break or a tie. We haven't been able to break because we haven't
Oh,
had
that's
anybody
right.
come join us for so long.
I
But
am curious to see where this lands for Keith, if he loves this episode or not,
me
especially when he
too.
rewatches it. I'll be
Me too.
curious to see.
Yeah, if he
Yeah.
wants to give us some information because he is our resident Tuvok stan, I would
Yeah.
very much
And I
like
mean,
to.
and we both love him, obviously, but this didn't love this.
I like him. I don't know if I'd say I love him. I think he's had a few great moments, but I think overall his character's been kind of wasted so far in the series. Other
That
than
part I
whenever he
agree
has
with.
scenes with Neelix. I love the scenes with Neelix. So
Mr.
there
Lincoln.
is a very significant Tuvok Neelix episode coming up. The
Okay.
significant Tuvok Neelix episode coming up. I think it's this season. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects our views and decisions going forward. But yeah, it is this season. It's near the end of the season, before the two-parter. Anyway, next week we're going back to Deep Space Nine for Sons of Moog. Worf's brother Kurn asks him to perform a death rite to regain his lost honor. Meanwhile, Kira and O'Brien investigate Klingon activity near the Bajoran border. And if you're not doing the Deep Space Nine with us, join us in 2 weeks for the Voyager episode Dreadnought, where B'Elanna confronts her Maquis past when Voyager discovers a Cardassian super weapon in the Delta Quadrant with artificial intelligence that B'Elanna once modified.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
interesting. And
It does
topical.
sound
Topical,
interesting, doesn't it?
yes, it does. Good clarification.
I I do remember seeing that episode. I don't remember it all that fondly, but I could be
Yeah,
I remember this one more fondly than I do now, so you never know.
yeah, yeah, that's
And
fair.
until then, live long.
You sicko, and prosper.
It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?